Everyone warned her. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in lowered voices. The kind people use when they believe walls have ears. Don't buy that house. Don't stay after dark. And whatever happens, don't dig beneath it. Zoya Rahman listened. And then she signed the papers anyway. At 8 months pregnant, exhausted, abandoned, and financially ruined, fear had become a luxury she could not afford. Her husband left the day the doctors said the word complications. He didn't yell, didn't fight. He simply packed a bag and said, "This isn't the life I imagined." 2 weeks later, the bank took their apartment. 3 weeks later, her phone stopped ringing. By the 4th week, she understood something important. When you are falling, people step back. The mansion on Blackwater Ridge was not a dream. It was a last option. It stood alone on a cliff above a river so dark it looked like spilled ink. The structure was enormous. Stone columns cracked with age, ivy crawling like veins up its walls, windows staring outward like hollow eyes that hadn't blinked in decades. It once belonged to Elias Rahman, her grandfather, a shipping magnate, a powerful man. A man who vanished 50 years ago during a federal corruption investigation. No body was found, no confession made, just silence. Her mother never spoke about him. The only inheritance passed down in their family was avoidance. The auction listing had described the estate as structurally stable, historically complicated. The price was almost insulting. That's how she knew no one else wanted it. The iron gates screamed when she pushed them open. Rust flaked off like dried blood. Wind tore through the trees, carrying the scent of river water and something older. The house did not look abandoned. It looked patient. Inside, the air was thick, metallic, damp. Every footstep echoed as if the floors were aware of her weight. She rested her hand over her swollen belly. "We're safe," she whispered. The house disagreed. That first night, she slept in the old library, a thin mattress on the floor beside a fireplace that barely warmed the room. At exactly 3:03 a.m., she woke. Not from noise, from stillness. The fire had gone out. The air was freezing. Her breath fogged in front of her. Then she heard it. A dragging sound. Above her, slow, heavy, like something enormous being pulled across the floorboards. She froze. Another drag. Then a dull thud. Directly over her head. Her heart pounded violently against her ribs. Then came 3 soft knocks. Controlled, intentional, not random house noise. Knock, knock, knock. She did not scream. She did not move. She waited for dawn like a prisoner waits for pardon. When sunlight finally crept across the floor, she felt as though she had survived something. But the house felt satisfied. The next day, she explored. On the 3rd floor, she found a narrow hallway with peeling wallpaper and warped wood. At the very end stood a door. No handle, no visible lock. Only deep scratch marks carved into the wood, as if someone had tried desperately to claw their way out. The wood around it was darker, stained. Her stomach tightened painfully. Her baby kicked. She stepped back. That evening in the basement furnace room, her hand brushed against a loose stone in the wall. Behind it was a leather pouch. Inside, an old cassette tape and a note. The handwriting was sharp and deliberate. "If you are blood, you must know the truth. It is not the house that is cursed. It is what we did beneath it." Her fingers trembled. She found an old tape recorder upstairs. The tape crackled. Static, then a voice. Her grandfather's voice. "I did not disappear," it said calmly. "I chose silence." The recording ended abruptly. No explanation, no apology. Just silence again. That night, the dragging sound returned. Closer. Not above her this time. Inside the walls. Scraping. Searching. Her baby kicked violently. "Stop," she whispered into the darkness. The scratching paused. Then came a whisper so faint it almost felt like it was inside her head. "Blood remembers." She didn't sleep. And at exactly 3:03 a.m., something dragged itself across the 3rd floor again. But this time, it stopped directly above the locked door. Zoya did not sleep that night. Every creak of wood sounded intentional. Every shift in the walls felt measured. The house was no longer simply old. It was aware. By morning, exhaustion sat heavy behind her eyes. But fear pushed her forward. She couldn't ignore the door on the 3rd floor. The scratch marks. The darkness beneath the warning. She climbed the stairs slowly. The hallway felt narrower than before. The wallpaper peeled like old skin. The air was colder here. The door stood at the end, silent. No handle, only deep claw marks gouged into the wood. She stepped closer and placed her palm against it. Freezing, not naturally cold, dead cold. Her baby shifted suddenly inside her, a sharp kick that made her gasp. Then, a sound from below, not dragging this time. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, inside the house. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She turned and rushed downstairs. The basement door was slightly open. She was certain she had closed it. She stepped inside. Darkness pooled in the corners like thick liquid. She turned on her phone flashlight. The beam cut through dust and shadow. Then she heard it. A baby crying. Not through the vents, not distant. Directly beneath the floor, her throat tightened. She moved the rusted metal cabinet aside and dropped to her knees. The trapdoor was there. Carved into its surface was the crescent moon symbol, identical to the one her mother used to wear on a necklace she never removed. The trapdoor was locked, but the key was not hard to find. It hung from a nail behind her bedroom door. She did not remember placing it there. Her fingers trembled as she turned it. The lock clicked open. The crying stopped instantly. Silence swallowed the room. A wave of air rose from below. Rotten, layered, old. She descended slowly. Each step groaned under her weight. At the bottom was a concrete chamber. Cold, windowless. Along the far wall stood 6 metal cribs, empty, except one. Inside lay only a stained blanket, dark brown and brittle with age. Her stomach dropped. On a table near the center of the room lay a ledger. She approached it carefully. The pages were yellowed but preserved. Names, dates, infants. Under each name, a single word written neatly in ink. Transferred. Her breath grew shallow. She turned the page. Halfway down, her mother's name, with a date, the date of her birth. Her vision blurred. She flipped further. Her own name was written in pencil. No date beside it. Not yet. Footsteps echoed above her. Heavy, measured, not dragging. Walking. Someone was upstairs. Her phone vibrated in her hand. Unknown number, she answered without thinking. You weren't supposed to find that room, a calm male voice said. Her throat tightened. Who is this? A pause. Then, family. The line went dead. The footsteps stopped. Silence returned. But it no longer felt empty. It felt like a countdown. That night, 3:03 a.m. came again. This time the knocking was not above her. It was at her bedroom door. 3 soft, controlled knocks. The lights flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed everything. The whisper returned. Closer now. Blood remembers. A violent contraction tore through her body. Pain stole her breath. Labor had begun. Thunder shook the mansion as rain lashed against the windows. The dragging sound returned, louder than ever, circling the walls. Moving from floor to floor as if the house itself were pacing. She screamed through the pain. No one came. No one would. Hours blurred together. Then, silence. She held her newborn son against her chest, crying, warm, alive. Relief flooded her body so suddenly she began to shake. We're safe, she whispered, and she saw it. On his ankle, a small crescent moon birthmark, perfectly shaped, perfectly placed, identical to the carving on the trapdoor, identical to the symbol in the chamber. Her breath caught in her throat. The dragging stopped. The house went completely still. Satisfied, morning came too quietly. She went back to the basement. The trapdoor was gone. The chamber gone. Only solid concrete floor remained. But faintly carved into it were 3 words. One returned. Her heart sank. Returned. Not taken. Returned. And suddenly she understood. The house did not steal random children. It reclaimed bloodline children. One every generation. A pact. Protection in exchange for a child. Her phone rang again. The same calm voice. You have fulfilled the obligation. No, she whispered, clutching her son tighter. You are always meant to come back, the voice replied. The house called you. You can't have him. A soft chuckle. We already do. The call ended, and somewhere deep within the walls, something shifted. Zoya did not sleep. Her son lay against her chest, warm and breathing. His tiny fingers curled instinctively into the fabric of her shirt. But something had changed. At 3:03 a.m., when the crying stopped and he smiled at something behind her, the house had grown quiet, not empty, satisfied. Morning light did nothing to ease the pressure in her chest. The mansion felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. She went back to the basement. The trapdoor was gone, just solid concrete floor. But carved faintly into it were the words, One returned. Her throat tightened. Returned. Not taken. Returned. As if her child had never truly belonged to her. She drove into town that afternoon, her newborn strapped carefully into the passenger seat. She went straight to the county archives. Hours passed as she dug through. Sealed files connected to her. Grandfather's investigation. Illegal adoptions. Unregistered births. Women who vanished after giving birth. But buried inside the documents was something worse. A repeated phrase in internal memos. Bloodline exemption approved. This wasn't simple trafficking. It was organized, protected, sanctioned. Her grandfather hadn't just been selling children. He had been maintaining something. A pact, one child per generation, in exchange for protection, wealth, and silence. Her son wasn't random. He was owed. That night, she kept every light in the house on. At 3:02 a.m., her heart began pounding. At 3:03 a.m., the temperature dropped. Not gradually, instantly. Her breath fogged in the air. Her son's eyes opened. He didn't cry. He stared into the far corner of the room, as if someone stood there. Zoya turned slowly. Nothing. Then she heard it. Not above, not in the walls. Below, a dragging sound rising from the basement. Slow, heavy. Coming closer. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without speaking. It is time, the calm male voice said. For what? She demanded. Collection. The line went dead. The bedroom door creaked open on its own. The hallway beyond was pitch black. The dragging continued, now directly beneath her feet. She ran downstairs. The basement door was open. Concrete dust drifted through the air like ash. The words on the floor had changed. One returned, beneath it now. One oid. A crack split the concrete. The floor trembled. And slowly, impossibly, the chamber reappeared. 6 metal cribs lined the far wall. But now there were 7. The 7th stood closest to her. Empty. Waiting. Her son began squirming in her arms. Not crying. Reaching, as if he recognized it. No, she whispered. No, you don't get to take him. The shadow peeled itself away from the wall. Tall. Distorted. Dragging across the floor toward the empty crib. The air thickened. Her son suddenly felt lighter in her arms. Too light. She tightened her grip. But his body shimmered, like smoke dissolving in air. Please! She screamed. The shadow leaned over the crib, waiting. Her son's crying stopped. And then, darkness swallowed the room. When she woke, she was lying in the library. Morning sunlight poured through the dusty windows. The house was silent. Too silent. Her arms were empty. Cold. She ran to the basement. The trapdoor was back. She opened it. The chamber was intact. 7 cribs. The 7th no longer empty, but there was no baby inside, only the stained blanket. And on the ledger, written in fresh ink, Rahman Male, transferred, 3:03 a.m. Her knees gave out beneath her. The house had not broken its promise. It had fulfilled it. Zoya did not cry, not after the chamber, not after the ledger, not even after she read the fresh ink. Rahman Male, transferred, 3:03 a.m. Something inside her had gone past grief, past panic, past breaking. It had hardened. The house had taken her child. But it had also made a mistake. It had left her alive. For 3 days, she did nothing. She did not leave. She did not call anyone. She sat in the library where she had first slept, staring at the walls as if they might speak again. The dragging had stopped. The knocking had stopped. 3:03 a.m. came and went in silence. The house was calm, fed. But the silence was different now. It was not patient. It was watchful, waiting to see what she would do. On the 4th night, Zoya returned to the basement. She brought a hammer and gasoline. She stood over the concrete floor where the words had been carved. One returned. She struck the floor with the hammer. Once, twice, again and again. The concrete cracked. Dust rose into the air. The house groaned. Not from age, from pain. She hit harder, screaming with every blow. You don't get to keep him. The floor split, and beneath it, the chamber revealed itself again. But it was different now. The cribs were not empty. Each one held something small. Shadows, not solid, not fully formed, but moving, breathing, crying without sound. 7 cribs, 7 shadows. Her son's crib stood at the end. The blanket inside it shifted slightly, as if something beneath it struggled to move. Her knees buckled. Give him back, she whispered. The air thickened. The shadow rose from the far wall, taller than before, less distorted, more defined, its outline almost human. Almost. You were protected, the voice said. Not from a phone this time. From everywhere, from the walls, from the floor, from inside her own skull. Your bloodline prospered because we were fed. You built wealth on stolen lives, she said through clenched teeth. An exchange, it replied calmly. Agreed upon. By him. Not by me. Silence followed. Then the temperature dropped sharply. The shadow moved toward her son's crib. You cannot break what was promised. She stood, picked up the gasoline, and poured it across the chamber floor, across the cribs, across the concrete. The shadow hesitated. You will lose him completely, it warned. Tears finally filled her eyes. I already have. She struck the lighter. For one brief second, the flame trembled. Then she dropped it. Fire exploded upward. The chamber screamed. Not wood, not stone. Something deeper. The shadows writhed inside the cribs. The tall figure twisted violently, stretching across the ceiling, trying to reach her. She did not move. She did not run. She watched the seventh crib, watched as the blanket caught fire, watched as something small beneath it glowed faintly. And then, a cry, clear, real, not from the walls. From behind her, she turned. Her son lay on the basement steps, alive, crying, whole. The shadow shrieked, a sound like tearing metal as flames consumed it. The chamber collapsed inward. Concrete cracked. The ceiling gave way. Zoya grabbed her son and ran. Up the stairs, through smoke, through falling debris, the mansion burned fast. Hungry flames swallowing decades of silence. By the time she reached the gates, the roof had already begun to cave in. She did not look back. By morning, Blackwater Ridge was nothing but ash. Authorities found no chamber. No cribs, no evidence, only ruins. Zoya left town that same day. She never spoke publicly about what happened. Never mentioned the pact. Never said the name Elias Rahman again. But sometimes, at 3:03 a.m., her son would wake suddenly, not crying, just staring into the darkness, as if remembering something, as if listening. And once, just once, she heard a faint dragging sound outside her new home, far away by the river. Because fire destroys wood, fire destroys stone, but some things the river keeps and blood never forgets.